I'm surprised that he's not wearing his Laverne college football jersey, the one that he played in, of all things. We're going to dive into not just the football career of one Bill Battin, Senior Vice President of On Air Promotions with the marketing team at Fox Sports. I'm Bryan Fenley with Fox Sports Radio. We're going to go well beyond your playing career, Bill, because there's a little bit more in life that you've done than that. So excited to explore all of that with you today.
Great. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here, Brian. Although football was still one of the highlights of my entire life. So yeah, I love Laverne, love playing there, and set me up for where I am today.
Why were you unguardable when it comes to the secondary trying to pick you up and tackle you?
I mean, I didn't look like much. That was the real asset to me. I learned that pretty early, and I was really fast. I was and I know it doesn't look like I was the fastest guy on our team our freshman year, and that really set me up. And I played the outside, so I would just run half, three-quarter speed all day until my number was called, and then I would run by people. And I would have been a great fantasy guy because it was like a touchdown or nothing. So it was but really good play. And the coaches we were doing things like 3 and 4 and 5 wide receivers kind of before it came in, with like Steve Spurrier and the fun and gun. We were doing that stuff. And we just confused a lot of defenses.
How confusing was the playbook?
There was a lot because we had to learn. I would have to learn all 5 of the positions sometimes in case of injury, so I could slot in elsewhere. So it was a lot of my routes were just blowing the top off for people underneath. And then we would then give me a chance to run. We would do a lot of crosses and a lot of switches with the guys inside on the slot. And that would also really confuse everybody.
How has your life when it comes to sports and at Fox just been one go route?
From when I was really young, I wanted to be in sports. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be, John Madden or Chris Berman or Dan Patrick. So I would sit and record myself watching games and into a microphone. And once I got my internship, I realized that there were other facets of the industry. I just wanted to be in sports. So once I got here into the marketing department, it's the only job I ever had. So I interned. Kept showing up after my internship ended, and then got hired as a PA and done virtually every job you can do in our department. And so it really has been. It's just been full speed ahead. It's hard to believe. I'm heading into my 29th year, and it certainly doesn't feel like that. It's more than half my life I've been here, but it certainly doesn't feel like that because it's been so much fun. And it's just a great group of people, not only in our department, but just across the whole network. And I think there's a big reason why that there are a lot of people that have been here. A lot of day one people have been here. I'm like year 1.5, but there are a lot of people, a lot of day oneers that are still here. And I think that's because of the atmosphere and the environment.
You said you've been with the company for 29 years. I would have mistaken you for a 29-year-old. So I don't know what you're talking about there. However, when you say that you've been with the company just about near its infancy, seeing where it's gone and how far it's grown and what it's become, how satisfying has that been for you and gratifying to see what was this idea and then it blossoms over time?
It's been great. We've always been the new kid, the underdog, and we like that. And I personally like it. And I've got friends at ESPN, and we still keep in touch and talk quite a bit. And I like to hear when they're watching our work, and that really is like it's a compliment. But it also is that we're getting people's attention, and to be able to be a part of that, this ascension. We launched baseball, we launched NASCAR, UFC for the first time on network television. We launched a sports network, FS1. Been through a lot of different things that people don't do an entire career. that I've been fortunate, and our group's been fortunate enough to be a part of along the way. And it feels really good. I'm getting, I have bumps right now, to thinking about, it's like what we've been able to do and the crazy stuff, the ridiculous marketing campaigns and shoots we've pulled off to get people to watch is just, it's been great. It's been a really, really great ride. I'm very fortunate, and still happy that we're still trucking along.
That you are, and a lot more than that, to be completely frank with you. And when it comes to organizing these shoots and the zany ideas that you have in putting these things together, outside the box thinking, what is the grandest example of what that would be like when it comes to that line of work and what you do?
Well, FS1 just celebrated its 10th birthday, anniversary, or whatever you want to call it, a week and a half ago on August 17th. And the campaign we did to launch the network, our first promo to launch FS1, was something we called Happy Days. And it was Happy Days Are Here Again. Sports had gotten really serious. Sports had gotten really, the laughter and the fun had kind of gone away from sports, and we were trying to make sports fun again. That was our whole take on it. And that campaign was, a 7-day shoot across the entire country, going to different stadiums. So we started in Daytona with Jeff Gordon and Casey Kane. Then we went up to Foxborough to shoot at the Patriots Stadium, to shoot Gillette to get Alex Morgan, and Tiger Stadium with Miguel Cabrera. So we went all over the country with our director, Joseph Kahn, who is an amazing director. And our team was it was like really like a movie team. Like, we were shooting a 90-second movie, and to be a part of that and to be in front of all these communications with the athletes and the stadiums and all the logistics, it was, now incredible. Then it was harrowing, because everything was contingent on me delivering players or delivering locations and delivering uniforms for, we did a scene with USC playing Oklahoma. And so 53 uniforms from Oklahoma and 53 uniforms from USC. All of that was, lying on myself and my production team. So it was really, really cool. We just were actually talking about it. That's been 10 years since we did that. And that certainly sticks out as, and it really is held up well. Like the visual effects, we turned the Coliseum on a day like today into snowy Baltimore. So it was really, really fond memories of that. And it's funny, people thought it was a footage spot. We'd explain to people that, no, we filmed all of this. We put a camera on, the track with 2 NASCARs bumping each other. And people were surprised. They thought it was game footage. So I don't know if that was good or bad, because I'm like, how do you not realize there's usually not cameras in between 2 cars sparking? But really, really great memories about that road trip and the circus that it was.
I'm thinking about the ways in which you receive compliments, and validation is obviously an important part of this industry. You want to know you're doing a great job. You want to hear that from your peers, from your superiors. And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm Bill, what to me is the most gratifying thing in to know that I'm doing a good job? And I'm thinking about it being, well, that it's being talked about, and it's being talked about for weeks and months and years later. When you think about that idea, that which you have been a part of, the brainchild with your team of these outside the box ideas, the fact that people years later are still talking about that concept in itself, where does that sit with you in the hierarchy of compliments and the importance that they can be as it relates to Bill Battin?
I think for like our industry friends, and I posted a link to that spot, and I was looking back at the comments. I posted on LinkedIn, and there are people that hadn't seen it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that, how did I not see this?" That is terrific. Like, that's really, complimentary. And even if it's not, there was a guy who's like, "Oh yeah, I guess I'm not the only one, or I guess I'm the only one who doesn't think this is any good." I'm like, all right, that's fair. so at least that people are watching it. Obviously winning an award is terrific. But ultimately it's like, that people are liking it internally. It gets good feedback from, my boss, who's the president of marketing, and his bosses. That's where, it feels good to know that people are because that's months and months and months of planning. That's always like the big thing, is like, this is months of planning this kind of a shoot. It doesn't just, happen in a few weeks. So to get that kind of commentary and that kind of feedback after working your butts off for so long, it's really, really feels good.
What kind of feedback did you get when you took the mic and accepted a sports Emmy?
Um, I think it's always tough, because that room is, people want to be done. It's a long night, and that's the only category for marketing. There's one category for marketing, and we've been fortunate enough to win it quite a few times. So my whole thing with, I always kind of run it through my boss, is that, look, we have a lot of people that work on these campaigns, and this is something we're not able to bring them all to the ceremony. So it's nice if they're watching, that they're able to hear their names and be recognized. So normally I try to run through it a little bit and put a clock on it, and then try to just go through it as quickly as I can, but still be able to have people understand me. So I never, last year they had a buzzer. I didn't get buzzed off, thankfully. I beat that clock, but and this year they didn't, and it was I thought it's just nice that people are recognized, and hear their names, and that all their hard work not only gets them an Emmy trophy, but we're in a big room with a lot of big time talent and executives, so it's nice to be able to recognize them in front of all those people.
How do you get recognized at home?
That's interesting, because my wife oftentimes forgets that there's work when I'm on the road. All she remembers are the dinners and the after parties, and not that we're driving 400 miles after a shoot to the next location because we can't get a flight. So I always give her a hard time about that we actually do work when I'm on the road. It's not just all eating steaks and and going to happy hours. But they I think now that my kids are older, I have a freshman at the music school at Long Beach State who we just dropped off to her dorm, and I have a sophomore in high school. I think now they understand a little bit more about what it is that I do, and I think that it gives them the opportunity to, if they're talking to friends or anything, like Joseph Kahn directs a lot of Taylor Swift's videos, so that is a huge talking point. My oldest daughter is a massive Swiftie, and that's a big talking point for her and her friends, that we're working with the same guy who directed Bad Blood, that won all those awards, a couple years ago. So, but other than that, I'm just, I come home and especially when I'm on a long road trip, and just, try to hang and, with him as best I can, and talk about it, talk about the road trip, and, mess around with my dog, and usually end up playing some PlayStation if I haven't in a bit.
What are you playing on the PlayStation?
Currently, Hogwarts Legacy. I'm in the middle of it.
Wow.
I love it. It's one of my favorite games that I've played in a very long time. So I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm a really badass dark wizard at the moment.
How did you get into that, and who else within the family joins you in playing on the console?
I've, back to the Atari. We had the Odyssey, which is the OG. My brothers. I was the youngest of five, so they had the Odyssey with Pong, and then we went to the Atari 2600, and I had a million games, and I loved Atari, and my friends all loved Atari, and then Nintendo, kind of went from there. And I've always just kept playing all through college, even after college. The scene in Swingers, where they're Trent and Mikey are playing hockey before they go out. Well, that was like, I couldn't believe they put that in the movie, because that was just like our, fraternity house before we would go out, and the controlling the instant replay would start fights with people in hockey. So and I've kept that I still play as, as much as I can when these, these big games come out, because it's really like it's really like a movie, watching a movie. The Last of Us, I think The Last of Us are two incredible games that I really enjoyed playing. God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn are, just they're epics. They're cinematic epics, and I really enjoy finishing one and getting 100% completion and getting all the trophies. I'm one of those.
How much do you enjoy just throwing yourself into the world that is the video game, whatever it is, and just letting yourself for a moment step away from reality and allow that imagination to take
Yeah.
over in whatever that looks like?
Yeah, I really pay attention to, like everybody, we were stuck for COVID, and both my daughters were playing Fortnite. Um, and then you had the Marshmello concert. Marshmello did a concert that was incredible, and then Travis Scott did a concert. So I watch it from a production, like, whoa, they poured a lot of resources into making this an incredible event. It was an event. You couldn't get into some of these concerts because it was, they were crashing servers. And I do the same thing when I'm for Hogwarts. I'll be running through Hogwarts, and I'll stop and look at the paintings on the wall to see them. Like, oh yeah, they're all animating and talking, just like the movie. Like the details, meticulous details like that are incredible. And same thing with like Horizon Zero Dawn. The birds off in the distance flying in the sky, they get closer and just like the little meticulous details. I always watch with an eye on that, about how much time they spent on one little piece of a massive epic.
How much meticulous detailing went into you deciding on behind you the 4 posters that are there and the selection of those 4 specifically?
Airplane is my all-time favorite movie. The definitely the league leader in quotes.
Yes.
I think it's still holds up as one of the very, very funniest movies of all time. And then Spaceballs is in my top 10. They just took the complete steam out of Star Wars and had fun with it. And Star Wars, Lucas liked it, even to the point where he couldn't sell merchandise. But in the movie, he sells Spaceball the towel, Spaceball the toilet paper. He has there's a merch shout out in the film, as a nod to you can't sell merchandise. So Mel Brooks is one of my all-time favorite, and the Zuckers and Abrams. And then The Office is just, Dwight Schrute is still one of my favorite characters on TV. And that's just funny for people to see, because sometimes, yeah, you just don't think about what you're asking, and then sometimes you just have to think about it and go, ooh, I should not do that thing. That's not a good idea. And I'm blanking. What's my third play? Oh, Book of Mormon. So I'm a massive.
There's the play too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was from like the original run of Book of Mormon. And I'm not a huge theater guy, but that to me was just like, I love Matt and Trey in South Park. I think they're, what they've done and taking on really serious issues with a hint of satire, with a lot of satire, and religion. And it's not just that was about the Mormon religion, but they've done it to everybody. They've gone,
exactly.
they tease everybody, and it's equal opportunity. And that play, I just found it to be just really, it was hilarious. But at the end, it's like, as long as you believe in something, it doesn't need to be an official, real. As long as you believe in something, that's what it's all about. And that really stuck with me. And so I got that after the show, and was able to get an autograph by all the cast and stuff. So yeah, I'm not too much of a theater guy, like I said. So that definitely is, out of the 5 plays I've probably seen, that's definitely my favorite.
You are a pop culture whiz kid, although you're not a kid. But if you were to pick a character in a movie, anything that you've ever watched, an actor, which one do you think is as close to you as anybody else, as far as your personality, the way
Hmm.
you think, maybe your sense of humor,
Yeah,
the way you are with your team at Fox, and how you're able to channel that in there too.
that's a really good question. I've never been asked that question before. That's a really fascinating question. Um, so all right, quickly off the top of my head, I would say probably a combination between Dr. Rumack from Airplane.
Okay.
Leslie Nielsen was so dry and with his delivery, but he was just hysterical. Um, and I think also it's Ted Stryker, because he problem solved and he overcame a lot of fighting some demons inside and uh to land that plane, against all odds. And I think that's a little bit of what we do here. We ask for stuff that in no way uh we would be able to, we think we would not be able to getting Mariah Carey to be in our World Cup promo last year was such about the biggest long shot we've ever taken. And she said yes. So I think that, and always try to keep it loose and with the sense of humor, because we're making commercials. At the end of the day, we're not fighting a war. We're not, in the middle of some crisis. We're putting commercials on TV and getting people to watch our events. And I think that, you know, a good loose sense of humor and, trying to get people to calm down, take a breath, laugh a little bit when we're in the middle of really stressful production or really stressful project, it goes a long way. And the problem solving is never ending. So I think just quickly, those are the two.
Problem solving goes into video game playing as well, and so
Absolutely.
that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And Bill, as we wrap up this conversation, it's so interesting to hear how all of these elements of your personal life and your love of pop culture, movies, cinema, and how there are influences in your work in the way of which you want to be able to have fun with your work. You want to be able to give people something to look forward to, be exciting, being charismatic. All of those things are you. And to get a chance to look at that wholeheartedly and dissect it is a really cool thing. And I can't thank you enough for doing this.
That's really, really nice to hear, Brian. Thanks so much. My friends call it the useless information gene. I couldn't tell you what I had for lunch 2 days ago, but I can pull. This morning somebody brought up Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, and I went through a whole diatribe on Rodney Dangerfield quotes. I have a shirt that says I speak fluent movie quotes. I don't know what it is, but it's something that I've always just done. And yeah, and it's fun, and it's funny how you can apply a lot of that stuff to real life situations. It seems weird, but it's the art imitating life or life imitating art. But yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. That's really cool.